Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of our Q&A with Leif series. My name's Marnie Frost and this is the founder of the Orangutan Project, Leif Cocks. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. We've been getting questions sent in from our YouTube channel, from Facebook when Leif and the Orangutan Project have shared this series, and also through another series that Leif is doing called Conversations with Leif. So we're trying to answer questions from that series as well. So thank you, keep them coming in and we will make sure that we do answer them every week. Hi Leif, the very first question we've got today is from Nitka, and she asked this question after watching episode 1. And she said, I've read a lot about sinking Java and Jakarta with it, and I've seen plans for the Indonesian government to move parts of their government capital to Borneo. What are your thoughts and knowledge about this move? I truly do not believe that the banks, retail, restaurants, hotels, etc. won't move with them, and I can't sleep at night for worry about it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Jakarta is sinking, and one storm surge it may go on the permanently with taking the aquifers out, and with climate change, the sea level getting higher and higher. So that's a very real possibility, and also it's a very congested, unplanned city. So the idea of moving the capital to the geographic center of Indonesia makes a lot of sense, and many countries do this. Of course, the big question is because, as we know, there's orangutans in Borneo, what's the effect? Now, they haven't given very specific indications of where the site is, but it's general enough that when I've looked at the plans, it's not going to affect orangutan habitat. In that East Kalimantan area, at least as far as historic records are concerned, it's been a bit of a void. There's been no orangutans there for maybe centuries. Why they went extinct there, it's possibly from a disease or overhunting by the local communities. So we can't know for sure whether there's going to be a detrimental effect of administration and people and the services that support them moving to the island of Borneo will happen. But I don't think we should be frightened that there's going to be an immediate effect on orangutans and the conservation of their forest. It doesn't seem as dire as what is portrayed of the simple idea. If it's Borneo, it's got to be bad for orangutans.
Thanks. And she also asked, and I guess this is a climate change question that will affect lots of people around the world, but what happens to the 10 million people when Java goes under?
Well, I guess Java's probably not going to go under. It's very hilly. It's on the what's called the Ring of Fire, where so you have these very hilly areas which are created from volcanoes, and they have the most rich soil in the world because of the volcanic activity. But the trade-off is you can have 3 crops of rice a year in Java, when maybe in Borneo you can only have 1 because of high fertility. So it can maintain a lot of people, but now and then there's a natural disaster which wipes a lot of them out through volcanic activities. And some of the biggest volcanoes which have affected climate change and killed off hundreds, if not millions of humans, have all come from this area along Indonesia's Ring of Fire. So it's extremely important for our history, but also for climate change. So this has also, of course, led to Java is the most densely populated island in the world with 200 million people, all supported from this rich organic soil. So we certainly think that we will over time lose the lowland, valuable lowland areas to climate change, and what's going to happen to all of these people. And we know a lot with climate change, temperatures, especially in the tropics, are going to really reduce productivity of agriculture and affect the people. And so, yeah, we do have to be mindful of this. Climate change is more and more going to become a real problem, and we're going to have climate refugees. We're going to have wars based over fighting of diminished resources. So these are some of the what we call is the spiral effect as we go down the plug hole. That's why I always keep talking about the next 10 years turns around, because as you're mentioning, there's also social, population and political effects which will compound the issue. as in similar, for example, we've had the COVID-19 recession. The response is to reduce labor protection and reduce environmental protection in order to boost the economy in the short term. And therefore, it's got worse. And of course, pandemics are caused predominantly from the destruction of the environment and putting animals under stress and having animals and people together. So you get the spiral. We destroy the environment. We torture poor animals. That causes a pandemic, which then increases the pressure on natural ecosystems and those animals themselves. So we kind of have to pull the plug out of the spiral, and we've got 10 years to do this.
Okay. And did you say earlier that the volcano also had something to do with climate change, or did I misunderstand that? You did.
Well, we've had several major volcanic eruptions in human history. Once actually just after the Napoleonic Wars, where in Europe they had the year without a summer. Where thousands of people starved to death and caused major political unrest and changes to the whole of civilization, including Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein and all that sort of stuff. It all can be related to that particular year and them being isolated in Geneva, sweltering away from the effects of its immediate climate change. And of course, Lake Toba and Lusa, that went off about 35,000 years ago and reduced the whole human population to a few thousand. It almost wiped out the human species. And so these volcanic activities can actually make a huge effect on the climate, as well as the human population itself.
Yeah. So people aren't to be confused and say climate change is because of volcanoes. They're working in tandem: man-made climate change, natural climate change.
Exactly. But when we're dealing with managing the long-term sustainability of our environment on a global scale, we have to take into account that every so often we naturally have volcanic activity, and this will and that has to be fed into our models and expectations of how we're going to manage to survive on this planet.
Thank you. I have got a question 3, and this actually comes from a question from your Conversations with Leif series, also on YouTube. How intelligent are orangutans? And I don't know if that's comparing it to humans or other species, or how you compare intelligence anyway.
I mean, in general terms, they are highly intelligent. And in fact, the research is very clear that they're the most intelligent species other than humans on a planet today. But what we have to understand is each individual person and each species is intelligent in its own way. So, for example, orangutans are more intelligent of remembering things of a time and space than human beings are. And humans tend to be a little bit more socially intelligent, a bit like our social chimpanzees cousins. Now, the reason for this is having a large brain is a major source of calorie requirements in a species. So you have to get a lot more food to support a large brain. So you don't want to support a large brain or intelligence that don't particularly apply to your ability to survive. So you can be very smart, you can read books in the rainforest, but it's going to cause you to die because you can't find enough food to support that large brain to read those novels. So we're all kind of evolved to have intelligence only when it's needed, because intelligence when it's not needed is actually a liability, because you increase your need for calories without increasing your ability to access those calories. So orangutans, and we have to always describe them as geniuses in the rainforest, but dunces in the classroom. So in their own way, and this is the same with all species, they're far more intelligent than humans. But you can't compare apples against oranges. We're intelligent in our way, how we've evolved as a terrestrial hunter and gatherer. And therefore, we must look at each species for the magnificence of their own individual intelligence, which often far exceeds us.
Thank you. Okay, keep your questions coming in. We will join you again next week. And Leif, I'm sure there could be questions coming in after we have discussed what we've discussed today. So I've got one now about veganism and intelligence, but we'll ask it next week. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all soon.